Ready to go live? Please mute your mics. Okay, we are live. Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome to the January Mayoral Community Forum. This Mayoral Community Forum brings forward a topic of extreme importance. The topic brings forth an opportunity for us to address all of the issues that currently exist inside of our communities. One of those such issues is human trafficking. Human trafficking is an issue that has brought forth a heartstring, if you will, for this mayor, because it has a silent voice in many accords. We find that in this world of human trafficking, it is easily done by force, by fraud, or by coercion. Today, I am happy to be joined by two phenomenal guest speakers. I have with me the phenomenal Patricia Watts. Patricia Watts is the executive director and owner of We Model USA and the founder, if you will, of We Model USA NWE Care Incorporated. She is a U.S. Army service disabled retired war veteran with over 35 years of military and federal service with the Department of Defense. She is highly creative, forward-thinking leader who is experienced in the exceptional management and organizational skills that help shape this business. She holds degrees in business marketing and administration. She created We Model USA as a women empowerment-led platform to give aspiring models and talented youth a chance to be in the spotlight, to promote them and introduce them to international opportunities and cultural experiences. Now, while on this journey, she has found opportunities to spread awareness about a global social issue. And this social issue is human trafficking. She utilizes the lens of fashion, beauty, and entertainment to bring that awareness. She is also a member of Sigma Gamma Rho. I want to welcome you, our co-host, Ms. Patricia Watts.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Cross. And
now, also with us today. Also with us today, we have a very important young man. This young man, I'm proud to say, is the reigning Mr. DC 2023.
Good evening, everyone.
So, allow us to just work through some little technical issues. Okay. Mr. DC 2023 was actually crowned on December the 4th of 2022. Mr. DC brings to us a community of hope, a community of fight, and a community of support, and excellence. Mr. DC, when he was just a young man, found himself in a position where he needed to make a change that would bring forth great hope, strength, and ingenuity. He found himself in a place where he was slightly depressed from overweight, and he ended up losing over 100 pounds. He decided to devote his time to volunteering and supporting in the Filipino communities as a cultural ambassador for self-belief. He has taken on many of the challenges to help give hope to disenfranchised youth who may find themselves equally in a place where it isn't healthy nor helpful to that youth to grow and become a part of the community. He works tirelessly to go forth and find opportunities to speak to young folks who may be at that crossroads, who may need an additional hand, who may need to hear from someone who's been there, who understands the struggle. Mr. Dave Valario is the Mr. DC 2023 awardee. Welcome, Dave.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here.
So thank you so much. Now, allow this mayor to work through another issue as we try and do a quick screen share, because I wanted to make sure that we got the facts out there for our program, because I think it is so important that you get your facts right. When we talk about this program, it is just an amazing opportunity for us to share with you these simple facts. Just 1 second. Let's see if we can get them up. Everyone tell me when you see them. I believe we have them up now.
We can see them. Super.
Okay. So these are just some facts that I pulled down from Polaris. Polaris is actually the ambassador, if you will, with Delta Airlines for the human trafficking campaign. Today marks the beginning of human trafficking awareness for the nation. From January the 1st of 2021 to December 31st of 2021. These numbers are to be staggering to you, that there were 10,359 trafficking situations. These trafficking situations were reported to the National Trafficking Hotline. Trafficking can range from anything that is illicit in manner, where someone is forced into acts that they are not approving of, can be from labor, forced labor, and can be from fraud even. So this is just an area where it is so easily done. It essentially, by definition, is any action where a person is not in agreement of that action, particularly in a hostile manner. That is something that has brought an awareness to identifying the trafficking victims and highlighting the various types. So in 2021, there were 3 major types. Escort services equaled about 10%. The areas of pornography had 8%, and illicit massage, health, and beauty, by the way, had 8%. See, some of these things seem very similar to things that you would normally, particularly like health and beauty, that industry, which is why having Ms. Watts on so important, because she's bringing awareness to the dangers of the industry and how young folks getting into the industry can protect themselves. Recruitment. generally find that they're recruited by someone they know, such as a family member or a caregiver. Believe it or not, 33% of those reported came from family or somebody that was trusted. Intimate partners made up the other half of just about 50%, and then employers. The internet, of course, remains the top reported recruitment location, which is why it is so critical, parents, that we pay attention to what's on the screen of our children. I know since COVID-19, the games have taken off, but it is so critical that we pay attention. The exploitation types, as you see, employers, 43%. Now, a lot of us think of illicit behavior, but remember, human trafficking can also be forced labor. So if we think about our immigrant population, I'm sure in that 43% is a large number of those that have been trafficked. Familiar relationships with the victim, 26%, other intimate partners, 22%, even emotional abuse at 28%, economic abuse, 26%, and threats. Those remain the most frequent methods of exploitation. Now, Delta Airlines, with its nearly 200 million customers and 80,000 employees, has committed to $1.5 million, and they're partnering with Polaris. And since its initial $1 million donation in 2017, the hotline from Polaris reports that 36% increase in contacts from survivors. So that's a success story. That's $1.5 million invested wisely to get our victims safe enough to report problems. Delta SkyMile members have also been donating their miles, which equals financial gains for Polaris to support this program. So my last slide here, I just want to show the National Human Trafficking Hotline. For anyone, you can text 233-733. Very simple, 233-733 to get help 24/7. For those that are hearing impaired, 711. And we want to give the 1-888-373-7888 number. So I wanted to make sure that we had this information because it is so critical that we get our facts out there to give us the impact that we're dealing with and what's happening on the ground with people like Patricia Watts, who are making a difference in our very communities every day by bringing awareness to this problem. So without further ado, I know Ms. Watts has some program slides as well, and I want to give you an opportunity to introduce your Connect to Protect.
Thank you, Mayor Cross. Hopefully, can you hear me? Great. Before we put up the slides, just so I can do a little more introduction. You did a great introduction about who I am and what I've been doing for over the last 30-something years with the federal government. Thank you for that. But you know, all of us are brought here in this world to serve. And I do not regret any of my time in the military of serving. And I think that's what brought me into, after I transitioned out the military, to continue to serve what matters. And that's our children. And our children are vulnerable, and we need to do everything to protect their livelihood. When we look at the stats of slavery still happening today all around the world, to include in the United States, it's terrible. It's horrible. And we need to do everything we can to change that state. Mayor Cross brought up some stats that Polaris put up, but do you know that human sex trafficking is the second largest crime in the world, ranging impacting over 25 million victims, making over $150 billion annually. And so I'm gonna tell you this, it can be stopped, but it's going to be hard to be stopped because this criminal activity is only driven by one purpose, and that's money. And they are doing it out of selfishness and greediness. And who are they attacking? They're attacking the ones that are most precious to us, the vulnerable. The vulnerable are children and individuals that have potentially had a lack of or a misunderstanding of what healthy love is. And they're going into our neighborhoods. If you do not think that they're not in our neighborhood, then you're not living reality. I can tell you right now that DC is #1 per capita of human sex trafficking. And look at where we are. We are set right here and with attractiveness for criminal activity of human trafficking. The major hubs, we got all the airports that are internationally that's coming right here in the DC metropolitan area. We have all the sporting events and large events with indisposable amount of money, disposable money income in this area. So where would a criminal go to get these things? These areas where it's an easy target for them if we're not putting up defenses. And I tell you that we can't just depend on law enforcement. It takes individuals like you, me, leaders in the community, business owners to stick together. And when we see something, we do something about it. And I think that we can do that. I know we can do it because we care about those things that matter to us. And that's our children. That's our grandchildren. That's our nieces, all of those that matter. And I'm glad that we have Mr. DC 2023 on the line. And I'm going to just say something. The Department of Justice just put out, I think earlier this week, that their alarming rate of suicides among young males in our nation because of sex exploitation. They're being sex exploited and they're going into depression, which is another topic all together, mental health. And then they're committing suicide. So we do need to do something. Our borders right now, we know that there are people going back and forth on them. But the problem is that when they come across with issues, and then they don't have the resources, and then they fall again victim of criminals. And so all of these things have root problems to it. And we just need to dig down. Stop trying to think that it's not our problem, because it is our problem, directly or indirectly, and to change what is going on. And so Mayor Cross can bring up the slides, and I can just talk a little bit about my initiative, the Connect to Protect 2023, which I believe Prince George County, Maryland, the DMV is the hub of where we're going to start with it. And this slideshow that she's showing you is looking at the things that we've done in 2022. I tell you that it's a problem that has solutions, but it's not a short solution problem. It's going to take us to continue to grow our network. Our network is trusted. We have to make sure that victims feel like they have a place to come to for resources and tools, but we also need to have a place where we can share information, we can share intelligence, and we can start getting the resources and the tools in our communities that need to happen. And it takes leaders like Mayor Cross, like Mayor Bowser, like Governor Hogan, like Governor-to-be Wes Moore, to get involved in this and to make sure that we're not only talking about it, we're educating, we're going to the schools, we're going to the community centers, we're going to the malls, we're going to the stores, and all putting it together so that young people, like my little grandson that's up there that is at 4 years old, He knows that if somebody at a bus stop is offering him some candy, to say no and not to be lured to a car or to a truck, to stay away, and what to do if they do come and approach him. He knows the steps on how to call for help. He knows not to go there no matter what. And that's what we need. We need at every age that this is being taught in the schools, for them to not become victims, to build self-esteem, to build self-confidence, to make sure that we value ourselves so that we know that we are loved, we are accepted, and that we can do something more with opportunities that come ahead of us. And so Connect to Protect campaign is about building a trusted network globally from grassroots initiatives, starting at the communities where we can provide tools and resources to our young girls, to our young boys, to our vulnerable people through the lens of beauty, fashion, and entertainment so that they don't become victims. It's this first step in the national security strategy, prevention. If you prevent it, then we don't have to worry about all the other problems. And this is where we fit in, education and awareness. And I'll pause right there.
Oh, Miss Watts, fantastic. Thank you so much. And just a beautiful magazine. Thank you again for sharing it. And we were there on the evening of this past April, and it was an absolute phenomenal event of elegance, of awareness, of strength, of encouragement. She had survivors who have come through the storm speak to us from their experience. And it was just an eye-opening experience to see someone living their best life now, having gone through, but still fighting through that storm. It has residual lasting value. So I thank you so much for bringing this to us and bringing this to our awareness. I want to get Mr. DC, who is the brand ambassador for We Model USA.
Good evening, Mayor.
So talk to us, Mr. DC. How do you feel about the Connect to Protect program, the campaign? How do you see us going forward with it?
Well, basically, first of all, I would like to greet everyone a very good evening. Mayor Cross, good evening. Thank you for having me. Patricia, thank you for having me. I would like to take this opportunity to use my voice and help inspire people to listen to this cause. The Connect to Protect would allow us to connect to more people, to encourage more people to be on the lookout and see what can we do to the community? How can we help? How can we find out who's suffering from sex trafficking or human trafficking alone? Because to be quite honest, before I thought sex trafficking or human trafficking only happens in the least developed country. But obviously I was wrong. It happens everywhere, whether it was the well-developed, developing country or third world country. But how do we know if a person is a victim of sex trafficking or human trafficking? Well, the first step is this, taking accountability, educating ourselves by attending this webinar, understanding and having a wider knowledge on how we could help the victims. And I know that if we wait a little more longer, it would have a negative impacts to the victim's life. It might get even more severe. It might be even too late for us to save them or to help them. If we wait longer, it could possibly lead to mental health deterioration, even physical health deterioration. So what I know at this moment is that by working together, we could protect the vulnerable population and those who needs our help.
Well said, Mr. DC. And we must work together. Together we can do more than we can alone. I want to share my screen and again, and let us be more aware of the U.S. political side of this. One thing about sharing screen from internet sources, you get all kinds of extra stuff. So in 2007, the United States Senate essentially formally named January the 11th, today, as the National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. In 2010, President Obama dedicated the entire month of January to the awareness and the prevention of human trafficking. Today, there are over 50 established organizations globally that essentially combat this illegal practice and bring more awareness. Has been more awareness has been raised than ever. Free the Slaves was established. This American charity was organized and launched in 2000. It highlighted the effects of human trafficking and has been quite influential in movement in the ending of this practice. And then you can even see it goes all the way back to 1910, where the International Convention on the Suppression of White Slave Trades was signed, essentially human trafficking for sexual purposes. And this legally ended 13 countries in 1910 by the signing of this particular document. And then we go back to 1807, Great Britain ends the transatlantic slave trade. And then 1200 to 1600, slavery, dangerous routes. Many people were trafficked as a normal way of life in the 1200s. And this isn't until the 1400s that European slave trade begins to exist. So this idea of trafficking dates way back. As they say, we get in the way back machine, go back to the 1200s. This is the struggle that we are bringing awareness to today. We are a more alert and more deliberate community today. This is so important that we hear these timelines, because one thing we don't want is for anyone to say, oh, it's just this or it's just that. It encompasses so many different variables. It's really hard to put a finger on it. And as we stated earlier, 33% of those human trafficked come from their own family members doing it. So the current trends in 2020, also that came out of Polaris, is we find that overall, it is social justice movement. We are building a social justice movement by the program that we're running today. We are building a world where the powerless, thought to be powerless, can gain power from being, from the awareness that we're bringing today. The scale of this problem is 25 million people worldwide. They're being deprived of their freedom to choose how they live and where they work. And this has happened, as you have heard, for decades. We must ensure that those that are trafficked have a voice. They are the survivors. And we are sharing this data today on behalf of Connect to Protect, as we are looking forward to continuing to build this national awareness. It is important also that we look at some of the stories that are out there. These stories that they're heartbreaking, because stories like young ladies coming just to work, or young folks going to college and getting a little hard on their luck, so they take an additional job or two, and then they find themselves in a position where they're being exploited. There have been stories of being in a bar and someone buying drinks all night long, and then they end up being the trafficker. It's so important that we watch ourselves and we watch each other. It is a staggering number of enslaved people today. 20 to 40 million slaves in the world, human trafficked, extremely profitable. This business essentially generates $15.5 billion. Oh my goodness, $15.5 billion, and is industrialized in some countries. And it's just horrifying. The industry is generating, again, a profit of $32 billion a year worldwide. Human trafficking. It is disproportionately affecting women, but as Ms. Patricia Watts stated, men are equally as vulnerable, because we just don't look at it as sex trafficking. We have to look at human trafficking as also work trafficking, forcing someone. I will tell the police authorities where your family is if you don't work for me, if they're trying to keep their family here illegal, or if they're immigrants, coming home at night. You have so much excessive depression. So you're looking for someone to fill that void. That's why mental health and wellness has been on the forefront of the last year of my mayoral term, because it is so important that we address the mental health global problem that has happened. Everything from recruitments to kidnapping, at-risk individuals, personal financial gains at risk. The sooner we bring attention to the awareness that this particular month seeks to build, the better. The national dates, again, is January 11th. But thanks to President Obama, we have it now for the entire month of January. So yes, ma'am.
If I can say, yes, Obama did put it, and you have President Biden that followed suit. He actually did his proclamation letter in December for 2023 being a nation awareness month for January. And so that is out there too. And he had highlighted a few things to include the education and awareness that has to happen, that is critical. And I just wanted to touch on what Dave said a little bit about him thinking that it only happened internationally in places like poverty areas, predominantly in Asia and in Africa. But we all know that human trafficking has no borders. And this is part of the problem. And the United States is #1 for paid sex in the world. And so we have to just think about, if it's that easy and accessible, then there are things that are happening that should not be happening. And I just state that because one of the things that a lot of people think is that the definition for human trafficking is force, coercion, and manipulation. A lot of people think that people are being kidnapped and taken. And Mayor Cross mentioned that a lot of them are happening right in the family environment. Actually, human trafficking even raised throughout the COVID era. And so I want to let you know that a lot of it happens through grooming and Romeo techniques. And what does that mean? That means when somebody you believe is helping you, that you are trusting, that's telling you that they're going to take care of you, manipulates you into a position, then you are owed something by them. And they kind of like get into your mind. They influence you wrong to thinking that everything that they're doing is right. And then you become dependent on them. So whether they're saying love, they love you and they're taking care of you, or if they force you and start actually using fear. Some kind of way they're manipulating you to doing the things that they're benefiting from, and that's getting money. And that's the part that we can stop. We can stop it by each person knowing their value. And I just keep harping on that because so many of our young people are striving and want that attention. And that's okay, because you got people like Mayor Cross, like myself, like Dave, that want to see young people excel. We want them to get attention, but we want it to be positive attention and protect them from those that are trying to exploit them in ways that they shouldn't be exploited.
Thank you so much for that. You're absolutely right. That mental health and wellness piece, it is a big part of all of what we are. And we have to get well. We have to stay well. I see you online with us for a welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Do you have any comments to say from the medical side of the house?
Well, so hello everyone. I'm Farah, Dr. Farah with Farah Medical Services. I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. So yes, definitely, I do see patient with a lot of anxiety, depression, and a lot of PTSD, which can be as a result of situations in the home. And just like Ms. Pat has said, it really is a lot about coercion. And so even when people are out of that relationship or out of that situation, then they find out that it becomes really hard to to have relationship with even people that they could trust. And so all of this affect mental health, not just in the now, but later, in forming relationship and just even being part of any activity because their trusts have been shattered. And so that's where we come in to provide if they need medication management for it, as well as therapy session, because sometimes just uncovering this, the truth about what's been going on and understanding what's been going on is part of the healing process. So that's what I wanted to kind of input, but it's a difficult process, and it's all right to let them know that this is a challenging process, but we're here. You have support system. Just knowing that you have people around you, really helps you, move ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And again, we want to make sure that we have that 188 number handy and available for everyone. That's 1-888-373-7888. You can also text help or info to be free, and that is 233-733. So please keep these numbers. It is so important that there is a safe place to do this reporting. I see we have Dr. Mazzali and Dr. Gloria Crossland online with us this evening as well. Welcome. Would either of you like to speak on the topic?
I would just like to say, this is Dr. Gloria Crossland. The Mayoral Forum today has been really great, and I like what Mr. DC has been through and his struggles and how he overcame his struggles. It was totally an inspiration. I like the way Miss Patricia Watts added deliberate value in explaining and expanding my knowledge on human trafficking and new terms that I hadn't heard of. And I also like the way the nice doctor from Farah Medical Services presented her position and how she can help out in the community. And also thank you to you, Mayor Cross, for this opportunity to understand and highlight the awareness for human trafficking. And I like the phone number that you gave. I jotted it down, but if you could share it one more time for those who may not have been quick to write it down, that would be great. Again, I know other people are watching and will watch this later. So if you could give the number one more time, that would be great. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, thank you. And the number is 1-888-373-7888. You can text help or info to be free, and be free is 233-733. Thank you so much for helping us this evening to reiterate those numbers, because one thing that we do need to make sure that we give is the numbers to get help. You are not alone. We definitely want to make sure that we give out our mental health suicide crisis helpline as well. The new number is 988. So simple, 988. If you're experiencing any type of trauma in your life that turns into crises, please call 988 and talk to someone. They are online 24/7, and they will be able to work you through that crisis and provide you support in any type of distress 24 hours a day. And remember, be free, 233-733, help or info. Thank you so much. Dr. Mazzali, how are you? I don't see him. It's not letting me unmute him. So welcome to you, sir. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do was also to share a survivor story. And I don't want it to kick us offline or do anything weird. This Zoom platform, we're all growing into it. But while I'm pulling this up, Ms. Watts, did you have another?
I sure do. I'm full of information. So while Mayor Cross is pulling up the next thing, I just want to make sure that I give more information about the Connect to Protect campaign for 2023. We have goals, and our goals in the DC metropolitan area, starting right here in Prince George County, is to actually have at least 25,000 people connect to protect. That Connect to Protect is really just saying, I support. You go on the website, www.wemodelusa.com, and just say, I support the Connect to Protect campaign. But it leads to other things. And let me just talk about this. On July 30th, which is the World Day Against Human Trafficking, we will have our event at the MGM National Harbor. We had it in April 2022, which was phenomenal. We're going to double that. And what that means, it means something like building a bigger human trafficking museum that's going to be open to the public. And this is filled with real human models that will be representing some of the indicators, some of the threats of human trafficking right here in the DC metropolitan area. That's going to be really built out this year, and it's going to be in the public space so that people can come and go and get the lesson in education. But then in the inside, we will have a full production. That's a runway model competition. And that competition last year was phenomenal. Like I said, kids from age 6 years old was competing in it all the way up. And our winner, I think she was 18 years old last year. She actually provided a creative outfit that she made. It had on there people that got prosecuted for human trafficking, to include Epstein, that was on her outfit. But then she had on a cape. That meant like she was a phenomenal woman that was walking her way and was not going to be a victim to anyone. And it was just done so creatively. And so, yes, that's her right there. And she actually got to go. She won a trip to go to Italy with We Model USA, just because of her competition and how she was able to represent herself. I just tell you, when we talk about the talent right here in the DC metropolitan area, it's overwhelming. And this is a place that we should be coming to and praising and recognizing our children for all of the thoughts and the creativity that they have in there. But we will have designers, we will market local businesses. So it is truly a event that is made for us and by us. And that's all races. There's no, when I talk about human trafficking, has no stereotype of who the victim is. This is true. They would go to a rich neighborhood. They would go to a poor neighborhood. They would go to the Blacks, to the browns, to the yellows, to the whites, to the reds. It doesn't matter. And this is why it's so critical that we work together. We really do. In an effort of love and true love, we need to work together. Look, aren't they just amazing? I just tell you, and all of them have dreams. All of them may not become models, but building that self-esteem. Look at LeClaire right there. That's Mayor Cross's daughter. But what I'm saying is that let kids grow without being vulnerable or being exploited by those that are just looking at their own self interest. That's all I have. July 30th, save the date.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I was happy that you sent me the program booklet because I wanted our audience to see the various age groups that you have in your show. You go from 4 years old all the way up to what was the most senior, like 67?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, a phenomenal show, and everyone puts their best foot forward. The most creative designers on the planet show up, and it's just a beautiful showcase of togetherness and support. I just want to see if I can pull up our survivor story at this time. We are coming to a close with our program. Again, I am so honored. This is our survivor story. Let's see if I can get it to screen share here. This is a TED Talk, Intersections.
Maybe across we can't hear.
Okay. So I don't know if you could hear that. Sometimes it messes up, but I just wanted to bring up Amanda's story. Amanda was actually at We Model's presentation. She gave her story. Her name is Barbara Amaya, A-M-A-Y-A, Barbara, A-M-A-Y-A. So Barbara gave her story. Barbara tells the story of being on drugs, going to a police department, not sure if she herself would be put in prison because she was sad, she was addicted. She was trafficked on the streets of New York City, right here in America. She knew that there were other young women out in the same track with her. And all she heard one night was run, run. And the police came to chain them all together. They took them down to the police station. She knows she can't spend many minutes in that police station. So she goes to court. And in going to court, they sentenced her to Riker Island Prison. Riker Island Prison becomes her prison. For more than 10 years, she was trafficked. She had a visitor while she was at prison. She heard so many horror stories. She didn't want to be there at Riker Island Prison, but it was drilled into her head that she deserved to be there. She was not even 21 years old. She had a visitor that came, and all she kept saying was, I want my parents. I want to go home. Barbara Amaya is from Fairfax, Virginia. She was 15 years old, not even 21. Her human trafficker comes to visit her at Riker Island's prison. And she's confused because they say, we found your family. They're coming to pick you up. She's 15. They're coming to pick me up, she thought. She's a runaway. She felt so many emotions. She was scared. She didn't know what to say, how to say. She had been gone for 3 years from her house. She'd run away, been gone for 3 years. They take her to this room where her parents were going to be waiting. And lo and behold, it isn't her parents. It's her trafficker in the room, not her parents. That's her story. And she goes on and she fights a good fight. She talks to us about how it is so important that the vulnerable community, if you're a vulnerable community, if you're an immigrant, if you're here and you don't quite have your papers yet, if you have no money, if you're a single parent, if you are a child that's trying to put yourself through college because your parents are deceased or you don't have anyone else in your house that can take care, make sure that you are not a commodity when it comes down to being trafficked. She says that the trafficker created a bond with her, a bond that was built out of trauma, a bond that allowed her to have an 85-year-old man take advantage of her when she was 16 years old. An existence that she thought she was surviving, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, over a decade, she was a victim. But if money was involved, if there was money on the table, the child was being criminalized by her trafficker. She tells a very strong story. And that is a story that is an easy story to happen anywhere. And that's why we chose to do this mayoral forum in line with the national objective. As we fight to move the mission forward, it is so important that Connect to Protect We Model USA, Mr. DC, programming that addresses the social dysfunctionalities that many of us, unless it's happening in our homes, tend to quickly bypass because it's not us. It's time for us to care, to stand up and to care a little bit more about those things that we don't quite understand, and seek to understand how we can be a helper in solving this social problem. We are combating human trafficking this evening. Today, we say no to the traffickers. Today, we're no longer victims. We're no longer vulnerable. We have resources. Today, we don't find ourselves in an environment where we are hopeless. 988 help info for someone to speak to 24/7. It is important that we remember 233-733. That's the hotline. Everyone has almost a cell phone that can text now. 233-733. Help info. If you feel like you're of human traffic, Ms. Watts has brought out some very strong examples in this particular segment of Mayoral Forum. We've heard from Far Medical Services on some of the patients that she see come in and the displayed attributes. We've heard from Mr. DC, who is the brand ambassador for We Model USA in 2023, how we are all going to take a stand in our volunteerism to be more cognizant and aware of those things that are around us. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. We need to ask the question. We're so quick to not want to involve ourselves in someone else's problems. We could save a life. I want to go to Ms. Watts as we're at our time. And I want to say thank you so much for allowing us to bring Connect to Protect, We Model USA, and awareness to human trafficking all over the globe, especially here in our area, Maryland, Virginia, DC.
Thank you again, Mayor Cross, and also everyone that is on listening today, to include Mr. DC 2023. I am so excited working with this beautiful, talented person. I'm just trying to think, can he create a song for us? But more than that, Dr. Crossland, it was such a great honor working with you, with the young, talented men that we have in the area. And I just want you to know the voice has no gender. And this is one of the reasons why I am so excited working with Mr. DC 2023. So Connect to Protect. Connect to Protect, We Model USA. If you type it in anywhere, it will pop up. And so we just need you to sign up today to be part of this movement, because we are not stopping. We are going all the way. I got my veteran sister here, Mayor Cross, my mayor, soon to be the president of the United States. But thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much again, Ms. Watts, again, for the work that you're doing in the community. Again, combat veteran, female, business entrepreneur. Thank you kindly. We appreciate your words. Mr. DC, we'll go to you next.
Yes, well, thank you so much again for having me. It's truly such an honor to be here. And let me just repeat that: Connect to Protect, We Model USA. Please sign up, and just remember that all of you, you are not alone. We are here to support. We are here to help. Reach out to us, and we'll be there for you.
Dr. Crossland, I know that you're the CEO, director of the Mr. DC Royal Ambassadors. Would you like to have a word as we prepare to close this evening?
I just want to thank you again, Mayor Cross, for this opportunity. And just to roll it back a little bit, I will vote for you as the next president of the United States. And I love the Connect to Protect. I'm excited for Mr. DC. I do hope he writes a song. I'll try to sing backup. And really happy about their medical services and Dr. Bruno and everybody else that's online and that are going to watch the awareness. And again, Mayor Cross and everyone, thank you for all that you do to bring awareness to the human trafficking. And as Mr. DC said, we can put a stop to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crosland. And Farah Medical Services.
Yes, again, I just want to thank you for this platform and bringing awareness to this situation, because I see patients across the lifespan, and I can tell you that no one is immune to any of this. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic, economic status. This can happen even in the home, because I've seen people who are now adults, but who endured sexual abuse since they were 5, and it lasted for years, and nobody knew, or the person that is been the abuser or is been the trafficker is a person of high standing in society, so they had no way out. And so resources like ours here is their outlet, is their way out. And so we have to, we have to keep on pursuing this to just, to bring help to the community. Now that we have a good understanding that it doesn't look at your face, like it doesn't look at your race, it doesn't identify with a particular over the other. Granted, the poorer population will at higher risk, but it doesn't mean that they're the only risk. Everyone is at risk of this. And I really did watch a documentary, and it says that the trafficker or the abuser are able to identify this population. They know who it is. They know who doesn't have the support. They know who is vulnerable. They know they can identify. They can see a child walking down the street, and they can know immediately that this is a child that we can, we can get access to. And so as we protect our children, let's just all strive to protect other children as well. This is a community, a village to raise our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate those words from medical services. It's always important for me, again, to have our mental health and wellness professionals online, because I know that that is one of our key pieces as we start to segregate ourselves from this depression that COVID-19 kind of left the world in, to healing and strength and prosperity. There is no moment of desperation. It seems desperation. It seems that the industry of money and garments and businesses and these industries of we can pay your bills off and we're going to take care of you, and then it's I'm going to kill your family, and then I'm going to hurt you. These words, please, if you start to hear these things, 233-733, be free. We must call. Get an azimuth check on what you're hearing. Again, I'm Mayor Cashenna Cross. It has been my honor to welcome in January the 11th, 2023 for human trafficking. We will be acknowledging human trafficking all of this month, as it has been promised by the nation as well. We will make sure that we continue to spread the word and be part of healing for our victims that we are discovering along the way. Continue to move the mission forward, and we thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.